Welcome, and I am Rogers Anderson, Williamson County Mayor, and as we travel around the county and looking and interviewing different people, today we have the opportunity to have someone come over from the Public Health Department, Rhonda Watson. Rhonda's graciously agreed to do this. A little nervous, first time you've done
Yes,
one of these
it is.
like this. But our purpose of our show is to display and to promote different things in our community that government does in terms of service for our many community, for our vast community that we have here in Williamson County. And so Rhonda's agreed to have a conversation today about the flu season, which is right upon us, and the Zika virus, which is making the front headlines of the papers all over our nation. But how does it affect us here in Williamson County? Before we do that, Rhonda, tell us a little bit about Rhonda Johnson. Where did you start? How did you ever get into the profession to want to be a nurse? And did you have a mom that was a nurse? It was so interesting sometimes to find out about people.
Well, really, I was in college, and I was thinking about broadcasting in the beginning, and my father was looking through the paper, and he kept saying, "Rhonda, there is a lot of opportunity for nurses out there." And he knew I was pretty compassionate and loved to chat and loved to get to know people. So he says, "Why don't you think about it?" And so I did, and I really have never regretted that. So that was good advice from my father, and I took it and ran with it. And I graduated from Union University in Jackson, Tennessee in 1985. So I've been around a little while and have done a variance of nursing, and every bit of it really grows you as a person, and I wouldn't take anything for it.
So when we talk about public health, and that's a term that's been around, I'm much older than you, but I remember in my boyhood days in the elementary school, it was civil service days, and we would practice getting out into the middle of the hallways, and
Oh, yes.
and those were things we just did back then. When it was time for immunizations, of course today you can't go to school without your list. Of the moms and the dads have to bring that list in for the shots that the children have had, and
Right.
they're mandatory,
Exactly.
except for some outstanding unusual circumstances. But back in those days, the public health director, which was called different back then, would come to your school and oftentimes check your eyes, check your ears.
Right.
And in those early days, we were taking polio shots.
Yes.
We were eating a cube,
Yes.
taking a cube
Yes.
of sugar.
Yes. That was the polio.
That was the polio.
That was the polio, and then you had a smallpox vaccine.
And had a
back then.
smallpox. And there wasn't a lot of democracy. You had to have it.
Right. There was, yeah, that's right.
And then we began in later parts of life to look at the flu vaccine. But as medicine has grown, and more people like you and me, we have our own primary care physician. But public health still serves such an important part in our community, in our state, and in our nation. And can you kind of describe the difference that how public health serves our entire community as opposed to individually, although they do?
Well, the entire community, because thank goodness we have the Centers of Disease Center, or the Centers of Disease in Atlanta, because the statistics are staggering as to what diseases come from, who they affect, as a community as a whole. So the Department of Health relies a lot on the CDC guidelines and statistics and what we need to do to move forward to protect the community as a whole. So that's vital.
So public health is still a big issue in the state of Tennessee.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And a lot of people look to the public health sector when there is a threat with the community, and they should. And we rely on many physicians who are experts in the field and may not have all the answers, but the heart of public health is to protect the community. And of course, you do that one person at a time. And I think we've been very effective.
So when you think about the Williamson County Public Health Department, it's a mesh of the state and the feds and the counties.
Correct.
And many people may not realize that the Public Health Department here and our satellite operation over in Fairview are so critical to the overall health of our community. But there are many, many people, even in today's world of the affordable health care that you see so much on the news, that really and truly cannot afford health insurance.
Right.
Or really can't afford those health initiatives. How to eat properly, how to protect yourself. There's a list of things that you all provide to my office every month that shows all of the things that we're doing, even from new baby, new well baby checkups, how, if you're pregnant, how to eat properly. And all of those services are offered not just to the 37064 zip code, which is where we're at here, but our many varieties of people that come in here. We have people from the 37027 zip code.
That's right.
We have people that come from other parts of the county because of the funding mechanism. It's not solely created just for the Williamson County or the Fairview Fairview area that we have out there. Humphreys County, Hickman County, Dixon County, both come over there. And we, in this county, have taken it a further step for people that are watching this, that we have a full-time physician, we have a nurse practitioner, and we have a dentist.
Right.
Which is so critical to our health.
It is. And I want the public to know that, you can go in any health department and receive services, no matter where you live. And you can cross county line. I mean, there's no barriers to getting health care. There really isn't. Yeah, in the Franklin Department of Health, we do have 2 full-time physicians. In the Fairview, we do have our nurse practitioner, and like you said, we do have a full-time dentist. We have a registered dietitian. So, when I first went into public health, I'll never forget my boss said, you need to apply for this position. And I said, I know nothing of public health. And when I stepped into it, I had no idea what we can provide for the community and all the work and tireless hours that go into providing care and providing the right types of care for whatever is coming down the pike for the community. So there's a lot of hours and man hours, and I think the love of taking care of people that goes behind public health. And I think they feel that when they come in our clinic. We're a friendly clinic. I want it to be a very friendly clinic.
I'm very passionate about the health care of our community. Number one, it's one of the largest vocations and employment base that we have in our county from an economic standpoint. You've got major hospitals, major for-profit, not-for-profit, many clinics, many men and women, doctors, nurses practitioners that are making a living. And I happen to have a daughter that's a nurse practitioner that, even though she doesn't share the information of who, what, and when, but it's become a real passion in her young 30 years of, in her 30s now, and she's convinced me that there are areas that we absolutely need to focus on from a government standpoint, and that's in the area of public health.
Right.
And that kind of leads into our discussion today. And let's talk about the Zika virus. Tell me what it is, where do we see the virus, and what's the name of the mosquito. Let's just kind of have an educational standpoint here.
Sure.
Here we are in the latter part of October, entering into November. Should we be concerned with it as we go forth in the winter months too?
Yes, especially right now they have, well, let me back up to say Zika is a virus that's transmitted through the bite of the Aedes mosquito. That's a type of species of mosquito. And these mosquitoes are aggressive daytime biters, and they also bite at night. But they only fly about 200 yards from where they hatched. So it's really important to remove all the stagnated water around your home because they can't fly very far, which that is a good thing. That's one of the very good things about it. But I can't emphasize enough, take time to empty your flower pots, your mop buckets, the bird bath, things of that sort. And it doesn't take a lot of water for the eggs to hatch. So you really need to be mindful of your surroundings around your home.
Do they hatch all year long, or is it just one particular season?
I think for our season, you know, in Tennessee, it's basically, I think, any kind of warm weather, you know, winter months. I don't believe that's the case. But of course, we have so many transient people now that are here from everywhere. Right now, they just put out a avoidance of Miami for pregnant women not to go to Miami, Dade County, specifically Dade County. Pregnant women should avoid Miami Beach, Florida right now.
So when you talk about the Zika virus and the mosquito here in Williamson County, who should, other than a lady that's pregnant, who should be avoiding or being concerned? Is it someone my age? Should I be concerned more with that also?
Mainly what they're talking about is the pregnant woman for sure, and any male that is going to conceive a child, okay? Zika can be passed from a pregnant woman to her fetus. An infection during pregnancy can cause certain birth defects such as microcephaly, which is an incomplete brain development. Okay, it also has been associated with the Guillain-Barré syndrome, where that is where you have paralysis. It starts with your hands and feet, it goes to your arms and your legs, and it can lead to respiratory paralysis, which can be very serious. Usually it's hopefully reversible. People come through it, but some do not. So it's not to be taken lightly. The main thing is men. I want to refer here, men who have traveled to areas with Zika or have had Zika infection should wait 6 months after they travel, or 6 months after the symptoms have started if they're sick, before trying to conceive with their partner.
So let me stop you there and let you catch your breath. What are some of the symptoms that one could be looking at, both male and female, generic to our area? I realize a lot of men and women in our community travel everywhere, and we get a lot. What are some of those symptoms?
The symptoms would be, some people don't even have symptoms, but if you do, it's usually joint pain, fever, headache, red eyes. It's not like, I don't think, earth-shattering. It's more like you're fatigued and tired and you have those things. And which, you know, any of us can have those things. They're pretty vague. So that's why it's really important to know where you've traveled and who your partner is and where they've traveled.
So if one should suspect that they have some of these symptoms, and some of those symptoms almost sounds like the second half of this show we're going to talk about the flu. What do you do? Do you come to the health department? Do you go to your physician? Are there some tests that they can render to you that might help ease the scare of having Zika?
Well, the main thing is to go to your physician or call your physician. Of course, we'll be glad to take any calls. I never turn down any calls because that's our job, is to help the community understand. If we don't have an answer, I will definitely refer you to someone who does have an answer. Basically, you need to talk to your primary care provider. If you're going to travel outside the country and you know where you're going, you need to talk to your provider. Especially, you can look on the CDC website and see the high-risk countries where Zika is so prevalent. And if you're going to have to travel to those areas, I would let my physician know. And of course, you're going to use the protection of long sleeves, use your insect repellent that is, you know, approved insect repellent. And I do want to emphasize that with children, it's different. When you use these insect repellent on children, you really need to pay attention to the labeling. Because some of it is, I know you don't use it under 2 months of age on an infant. And some insect repellents you can't even use under 3 years of age. So I want parents to be aware. If you're going to spray your children down, that's fine, but be aware of what is safe for your kids.
So, and this is not on your list of questions because we want to get this information accurately out to the public. But this particular time of the year, in my younger days, I didn't think deer season could start without me being setting up in a tree, in a
Right.
tree stand.
Right.
As you get a little older, that peanut butter sandwich in your back pocket sitting in the cold doesn't appeal to you near as much. But I do know that oftentimes being out in the woods, being out into these remote areas for these men and women that hunt, we often would wear repellent that had DEET in it. Is that a repellent that we can use, or is that something that's a little bit more effective?
Well, no, the Environmental Protection Agency, you'll hear a lot of people say EPA, and that's what it stands for. These are registered insect repellents, and those that contain DEET or they contain oil of lemon eucalyptus, these are proven safe. Okay, they're proven safe even for pregnant women and breastfeeding women. Okay, always read the label, but as of now, that is what they're telling us, and I just want to encourage, especially the hunters and anyone that's outside a lot, to really protect yourself from any really mosquito bites and tick-borne illnesses that can occur.
Well, today the television and the news is not so, it's not on the front for burning like it was in the spring of 2016. In the summer, where it just seemed like every single day. Now I understand part of that's news. I understand the sensationalism of news casting that gets people's attention. But this is serious and this is real.
It is.
And it has a very prolonged effect. And so the encouragement that we would want everybody that's watching this show, be it young, be it old, is that take precaution.
Right.
Protect yourself.
Correct.
Know those areas that you're traveling into. Know those areas that you travel to if you're coming back and having some of the symptoms that you talked about. Very similar to flu. If you're uncertain, visit your physician.
Right.
Call the health department. We'll try to help you the best we can.
Right.
And then take the heed and advice of the physician that is there. Some of it may be a wait and see.
Well, and one thing I want to emphasize to men, I don't think men realize Zika stays in the semen in men longer than any other body fluid. So if we have the young men who are thinking about having children and they have been to these areas and they come back to their partner, they really need to be upfront. They really need to be concerned and be smart. Okay.
So let's kind of shift our emphasis. If I've covered everything with the Zika virus that you needed to get out to the public, let's talk about the flu. Here we are. It's the latter part of October, first part of November. Here in the county, we've made through our benefits department to all our county employees, we've made that available to them at multiple locations, and we'll continue to do so for the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And we're encouraging everybody. It's not mandatory, but we really encourage everyone to get that flu shot. And the flu for 2016, I'm understanding, is already sticking its ugly head up out of the ground.
Yes.
We have some folks that have been diagnosed with that flu, the flu for 2016, 2017. Let's talk a little bit about the flu. And the flu shot, we hear lots of rumors about it. If you get a flu shot, you're going to get the flu.
Yes.
How many times have you heard that? How many times I've heard that?
Right.
And then there are just a certain amount of people that say, well, I've never had the flu. Why should I get the flu shot? Let's talk a little bit about the flu. So when does the season actually begin?
It begins in October, and it lasts through May. That's the general consensus of the flu. It can make you so very sick, and in the elderly, oh my goodness, it has caused many, many deaths. I cannot emphasize it. And in young children too, your toddlers, your babies, you really need to be careful. You can't get the flu vaccine unless you're 6 months and older. Okay, so you can't, under 6 months, you can't receive the flu vaccine. But young children, I do definitely encourage moms and dads to get their children vaccinated. And of course, anybody. If you've ever had the flu, I had it twice when I was in my 20s, and I didn't know what it was at the time. I just remember I called my pharmacist. At that time, I thought, Gary, what is wrong with me? And he says, Rhonda, you have the flu. I thought, oh my goodness. I thought, I can see where it could kill someone who has a weakened immune system. And of course, I don't want to give it to anybody. So I want to be immune, you know? So I think it's very effective. You cannot get the flu from the flu shot. It's a dead virus. It takes 2 weeks to build antibodies. So once you get the flu shot, it takes 2 weeks for the antibodies, or I call them armies, to give you the protection you need from the flu. So either if you got the flu after the flu shot, more than likely you were already exposed, okay? And the flu shot just hasn't had time to work. Or if you come down with symptoms, sometimes it can give you mild symptoms such as fever or just a little sluggishness, not feeling up to par. And that sometimes is very common. But just remember, if you get the flu after you've had a flu shot, I can guarantee you that it's not as bad as if you hadn't had the flu shot, okay, for some reason. There are different strains out there. So, you know, they are right now already trying to project what type of flu will be hitting the U.S. for next year. So they're right now in laboratories trying to decide what is best for the population of people here in the U.S., what will be coming over here to the U.S. So in a way, it's a guessing game, but not just blindfolded, of course. They've got their data.
So Rhonda, when you talk about the flu, and I'm over the age of 65.
Mm-hmm.
And the flu virus, you would think that my body would be immune to the flus of either from the vaccine and building up these armies like you're talking about, or from the experience, and I've had the flu a couple of times in my lifetime. Not sure I ever had the flu shot up until about 20 years ago, but it doesn't take but one time of getting the flu and you're ready to do about anything not to get that rascal ever again.
It's tough, yes.
But for folks that are watching this show, whether they're young or old, they need to realize that most health insurance companies pay for preventative vaccination.
Sure.
Now, we talked about our employees and how much stress and how much energy we put into that, not just for themselves, but I don't really want to catch it from you because you didn't get your flu shot.
Exactly.
And lost time, which is lost productivity. And there are things that you can do to help prevent that. Even when you've had the flu shot, using wipes. Let's talk about some of those preventative things. If you have children in school, I have been blessed with a boatload of grandbabies. And I wouldn't take anything from it for them. But I know when I go to their schools, and I'm leaving here this morning to go to Grandpa's Day, and I'm going to be around all kinds of little children, first and second graders, that have got colds, they've got runny noses, they're sneezing, they're coughing, and I just feel better knowing because that population transmits a lot of our coughs and sneezes because the children haven't been taught how to handle all that. So for folks that are over 65, there's a little different shot that you can ask for. And if you go to your local grocery store or your physician base or any other place you're getting this shot, you really should investigate asking the question about the 65 and older shot. Tell me a little bit about that, and then let's talk about some preventative ways.
Okay, well, the 65 and older flu vaccine has the adjuvant derivative in it, and that just boosts the immune system in the older person, okay?
That's me.
That'd be you. I'm sorry.
That's
on my way. I'm on my way.
I hope you make it.
Thank you. Me too. But anyway, that's what's specific about that vaccine. What we're offering this year in the health department is your quadrivalent. And quad meaning 4, so it protects you against 4 strains of flu, which is the H1N1, the Hong Kong-like flu virus, and 2 types of B strains of the virus. So those are all different viruses. Now, if you get the flu and you've had the flu shot, you may have gotten the flu that you're not protected from. These are just the main ones they think that have hit the U.S. this year, if that makes any sense at all. So the B strain type viruses really seem to cause more sickness than the A's. So they really want to be sure that they try to get those B viruses in the vaccine to protect the person who's receiving. And it's just a few minutes of your time. It doesn't really even hurt afterwards. You may have a little soreness in your arm. But other than that, maybe a little fever that a little Tylenol or ibuprofen couldn't handle or help. So I just strongly encourage, it's just so worth it.
So let's talk about some of the preventative measures that you can help. Even with the flu shot, there's a possibility you could catch it. There's a possibility that hopefully if you get it with the flu shot, it's at least a little bit more tolerable. Because there are different strains that you're not covering in the shot.
Right. But hopefully it will give you some protection from the others as well.
Absolutely.
It will.
Preventative measures, you see people, something that my generation never did, but most of the men carried handkerchiefs and they brought those out. Those are still most effective.
They are, and hand washing. I cannot emphasize enough to parents to be sure to watch your children. I mean, I know you probably watch them at home, but like when you're out somewhere and you're in the mall and you're having to go to the bathroom, be sure the children are washing their hands and they know that it's to protect them from all kinds of illnesses.
How about the little spray pumps that's got
hand sanitizers?
Hand sanitizer, thank you.
They're very effective, yeah. So
should they be looking for a percentage of alcohol in those things? The higher the grade, better for you?
And they will dry your skin out. So if you do use a lot of that, you may, be using some hand lotion as well. Of course, I mean, that is effective, but to me, soap and water and washing those little germs go right down the drain. To me, that's what I like.
When one coughs, I see people now bringing their arm up and kind of coughing into their...
into the crevice of their arm. Yeah, they're teaching children that now. Teachers are, and I thank you, teachers. You do a great job. And, if there's not Kleenex nearby, they should try to, sneeze in their arm or cough in their arm, in the sleeve of their arm versus the hand. Yeah, so that's kind of a new thing that I noticed in the last, 3 years or so that teachers have been doing.
I've noticed that. My grandchildren, when they cough. Well, Rhonda, I'm sure I've overlooked something. We got about 30 seconds. We got to get out of here.
Okay,
Can you think of something that we haven't brought up that you wanted to bring to the general population's attention today?
Just know that your local health department, if you have any questions at all, feel free to call. I'll be glad to take a call. You can leave a message on my voicemail, or you can have me paged. But either way, I will get back with you with any questions you may have about the flu or Zika or any other. Okay?
Thank you, Rhonda.
You're welcome.
I'm Roger Sanderson. We got to get out of here. See you next time. Have a good day.